Normally I wouldn't have anything much to compliment the French on, but this is a genius idea. Today we get our Renault Express back together and running, hopefully. Put a new water pump, as you can see, nice and shiny. The head has been to the machine shop and cleaned, skimmed. We put new valve stem seals. We've done the valve spacing, whatever you call it. Everything's cleaned up, it's all degreased, it's a new belt. It was a greasy, disgusting mess under here. So now this is all nice and tidied up. When I put the car back together, I'm a bit of a moron. Looked like it was full of water. When I was filling the coolant, this looked like it was full of petrol, right? I had a sort of light bluey coloured coolant, was all I had. And I'd actually put this line here, which comes from the water pump, onto the back of the manifold and not onto the injection, monopoint injection. And it filled everything with water, filled the cylinders, filled the intake manifold, everything was filled to the top, and it was coming out of there. As I was filling it up, filling the coolant, water coming out of there. I thought it was petrol because I had knocked the ignition on just to prime things before I started it, and this was full of water. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So that hose was in the wrong place. I had put the hose for this vacuum hose here onto there, and this water hose onto there, so that was really stupid of me. It should have been quite obvious because this return water hose goes to there and in there. So everything's been full of water, so we took the plugs out, drained the water out of everything, took the plugs out, turned it over, spat all the water out, we disconnected it, the distributor, took the plugs out, turned it over, spat all the water out. It's quite a lot of water. Lucky I didn't start it. Got all the water out, poured a bit of oil in the plug holes, put everything back together, and I turned it over. It is starting, but it is not. It's starting, but it's not running. It won't idle, so I need to. It has no exhaust on it just now. It just has the downpipe on it, and it is too loud. As much as I think it sounds beastly with no exhaust on it, if I'm going to have it sitting here idling, the neighbours would kill me, because it was a bank public holiday on Friday, so I was just doing it on Friday, and I just got it because I just wanted to get it started. I came in, got it started, and bap 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 is not neighbour friendly. So now I'm going to lift it up, put the rest of the exhaust on, and then we can work on getting it running. Now, it wasn't running great before. I think this is a Magneti Marelli monopoint fuel injection, and I cannot find that injector anywhere separate. I can remember messing around with this, and I think I lost the grub screw from there. That was when I was at the side of the road when the car was broken before. So, and it's really hard to find spare parts for these. So I'm going to try and find a second-hand one and put that on. I can find them for Lancias, Ypsions and Ys, but I cannot find any for like a Clio or Twingo. I don't know why in Renault it's not showing up anywhere. But I'm going to try and find a second-hand one. I had bought a whole new engine from a Twingo from a scrap dealer in Spain, but they never sent it to me. So I'm going to try and find another one of these, just to have a spare anyway, and put it on and see if it works. But if not, we'll try and get it running nicely just with this one. There was a big hesitation with it before, and it wasn't running great when it was hot, it wasn't running great when it was heating up. So there's something not quite right with this monopoint fuel injection, so we have to find some solution for that. But we're going to get the exhaust on and get it all running and idling today, and the coolant system bled, and then see what we can do. What I will say also is that after I filled the engine up with water, like an idiot, I drained the oil again and put fresh oil in it, because I'm not going to have it use that oil, because it did look a bit watery as well, so I'm sure there's some oil got down to it. But we can see underneath the car. What's really nice about this car is, if you know these cars, you know that they rust, yeah? So, like, we have a pretty tidy car here, rust-wise, right? The body has no rust. Like, the back end, this is obviously, the front's all cleaned, but if you're from Britain and you're looking at this rear beam, you're going to be like, Jesus Christ, it's like brand new. This bit is just dirty. There is absolutely zero rust on this car. On the beam, look how clean that is. British people are going to be crying. In the legs and everything. It's minty. So it's a really nice base. The car needed some bit of body work. I don't know if I can see here. That corner there had a ding and it was quite rusty, so I just did some body work on that. It almost looks, the paint I used was from a Volkswagen Mark 1, so it's a bit yellower. It was all I had. But it's 10 footer, it looks all right. And then round here, at the door, it had a ding on it in the door here. So you can see the difference in the colour better there. That's the original colour, that's what I've painted it. But we fixed that ding on the door, and I fixed a few other little bits. So there's some rust on top of the car, but there's no rust underneath the car, which is really surprising. It's also really good news. So what we'll do now is we will hook our exhaust up so we can get it running and tested and see how the fuel injection is, if it's actually going to work this time, or if we do need to wait for a new carb to really get it running. I think we'll be able to get it running enough that it's drivable, but I just don't want that big hesitation I have when I'm driving it on the road, which is something else altogether. Also waiting for a CV to come, because it's a bit goosed, so I just got a new one. They're pretty cheap, so I tried to repair the old one, but bugger it, just put a new one in. Look at how nice and clean it is, no rust. Bolts that are bolt coloured, this is like, to British people, this is they're like, no way. This is one of the joys of living in Spain. One of the joys of living in Spain is that many of the cars you're going to be working on are not rusty at all. And they're generally, I find that they're rusty on top, more rusty on top than they are underneath. Like bolts, chassis, all this stuff around the engine, generally never that rusty. Brakes, never really that rusty. Whereas the bodywork of the cars will get affected by rust earlier and worse than the underside. But that's easy, then you're just doing a little bit of bodywork on top. You know, the foundation of these cars is generally always pretty solid. Now, how well the maintenance has been done and how well they've been looked after and what sort of condition all the wiring is another point altogether. But the chassis and the underside of cars from Spain are generally pretty solid. So I'm just putting the exhaust back on. When I bought this car, this catalytic converter was hanging like super low down, okay? And it was always a way below, and it always looked really weird. This car, the person that had it before could not get it to pass the emissions, that's why I got it so cheap. And there was a new catalytic converter on it, but the cat was always hanging away down. And then when I got into the engine, this part here of the downpipe here was pushed so far forward, it was actually rubbing against the CV, and this here, you can see I've put some JB Weld on to make this flat, because that actually worn through, and this was completely scooped, right? So this part of the exhaust was sitting all the way forward, like massively forward here, and was rubbing on the CV, and then this was hanging away down like this. So you can see here, I've now pushed the exhaust back to a good position where it's going to clear, and we can see how the exhaust doesn't line up, right? But if I, quite simply, just cut here, a couple of inches off of the end of this exhaust, of this cat, then even the angle is going to match, because this is swept up, this is swept down. So if I just cut this here, I'm going to have perfect, and then there's a sleeve that goes on it to join it, like this sleeve here. So if I just, and on there, so if I just cut that, it's going to line up perfectly. This is like, some people are so rough. Like, how does somebody not see how easy it is just to chop that off there, and that up sweep and that down sweep are going to match perfectly, and just lop this bit off. It's obviously too much work for whoever had this car before, whatever garage had it before. It's actually been in the garage for a year, right? So it tells you a lot about the quality of work in that garage. But I know this is just a bit of JB Weld, but like, we're not putting hundreds of money into a €300 car until we can make sure it's all working. So that's solid as anything. So JB Weld will get you home. So we'll try this here. But that looks like, now that I've got it all down and apart and I'm actually looking at it, it's super obvious what that issue was. I thought it was like the wrong, cat somebody had like put on it, but even if it is the wrong cat, it's just a pretty simple bit of pipe to cut there. So that's one nice little problem solved in 5 minutes. Well, I've been having fun all day on this Renault 5. The engine starts and runs, I got it going, no problem. What I had was, when I had it running before, I tried to bleed the system from here. It had soaked the inside of the distributor, so I took that off, dried it out. Now I have had the car running, it's running nice, but I've had a couple of issues in that I'm not getting any hot air inside the cabin, and after it's been running for a while, the fan's not kicking on, and also it is overflowing out of the coolant bottle. That's after about half an hour of running. There's no temperature gauge in this car, so I can't see where the temps are going. I did put a thermometer in the water, and the water's like 84 degrees at the bottle, which doesn't seem that hot. I've let it run and then cool down, run and cool down a few times to try and see if there's an air bubble in it. Then I did one of these hydrocarbon tests for the water. As you can see, that's still blue. It hasn't gone green or yellow. The Renault 5 is now all completely bled and is working perfectly. And I've got to say, this is an absolutely genius idea from the French. Like, they really were building some pretty clever and ingenious cars in the 70s, 80s and 90s compared to what they have now. But this, I was struggling to get it to bleed. I couldn't get any hot air out of the fan blowers. Well, running full blast, I was getting no hot air. I couldn't get the fan to kick on. So I have just disconnected the fan switch and put a jumper cable on. The fan's running permanently now. and the car is running at a nice temperature. I really struggled getting it bled. There's a couple of bleed nipples on the hoses, but I was just constantly getting no hot air, no hot air, no hot air. So you can see here, the expansion tank bottle normally mounts here, and it's just held on with this bungee, right? So I undid the bungee, hung it up here, so we got it well above everything, filled it up, and having that extra height on it seems to have burped the system, and we now have hot air. But what a genius little idea. Like, this is thought about for people to work on their cars, or like, that's so simple and so ingenious. It sort of like blew me away, like the bungee and everything, like, you know, maybe it's because these cars overheat a lot, or they're just, they know they're particularly difficult to bleed. But what a really genius idea to just put that on a bungee, and then to be able to hang it up there. You could just hold it up there if you wanted, if you had two people, but just on my own, so I just hung it up there, and fucking brilliant idea. I'm waiting for a fan switch to come to see if that works, but the fan works, no problem, and the car is idle. I had the car idling for like an hour, no problem. It didn't seem too hot. There's no temperature gauge in the car. I might get a little inline temperature gauge and stick it in so we can monitor that. So I'm just waiting for, I don't need the fan switch, but I'm waiting, the fan switch will be here on Wednesday. I went to Renault this morning. That'd be really good, but I still am short of my CV. Hopefully the CV will come today. Like this again, Autodoc with their 5-6 days, weeks, well no, more than a week waiting for parts from Autodoc again as usual. So hopefully that comes today and we get that on, and then we can drive this van out. But I'm really looking forward to getting it back on the road. Get the wheels on it, get it washed up, get it clean, get it all nice and detailed, and then have our van back on the road.